Oh, good morning, world travelers. This is Mentalist here, coming at you on a cold day from Maryland. In fact, I looked out my window today and I was like, is it raining? Is it raining slowly? Oh, no. Nope. That is snow. That's right. That slow rain is snow here. And we're going to talk about shit being on fire today, which has nothing to do with the snow.
Yeah, what's
What's going
up?
on,
Good
Big Six?
morning. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever this is hitting your ear holes. I hope that it is good. Man, snow, that's gross. Snow is um terribly just a second. There you go. All right, snow is snow is terrible. It's a terrible thing. Snow is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And for listeners, I'm sitting right by the door to the back of the wife when I was taking care of chores. That's the noise you hear in the background. But I am not a fan of the snow. If you know me at all, you know that we are a team anti-winter in the Barry White household. We are not a fan of snow. And you guys get snow every year, right? Like that's a common thing to happen in Maryland.
Um, the existence of snow, yes. The accumulation of snow is a different story. And we have not had substantial snow here in where I am in Maryland in probably a handful of years. Um, sometimes we'll get more than, but nothing like several feet accumulating, which when I was growing up, we would get that regularly. So, like right now, what I'm looking out the window and seeing is sparse accumulation on the ground, but not on the roadway.
So what
And
you're
all of
saying
that
is over
has to do with ground
time,
temperature.
the climate has changed. So that you're
Perhaps
not getting as much snow as you did when you were younger.
that is an accurate assessment.
Gotcha. Yeah. Here in Spain, in Benamadena in Malaga, Spain. It's partly cloudy. And here I have a question for you. Maybe you get this. We've already discussed we don't really know weather patterns that much when we're talking about the fog, but can you explain the difference to me between partly cloudy and partly sunny?
All right, so I've got this glass, and I'm going to fill it with liquid, but not
Halfway.
completely. About
Right.
50%,
Okay.
which leaves 50% of it empty.
Right.
Which is it?
Right. Is it half empty or is it half full? And
Right.
they say that's a test in pessimism or optimism, how you view the glass. Um, but weather patterns, like on weather apps and everything, they will have a day, like one day it'll be partly cloudy, and then the next day was partly sunny. And I'm like, what's the difference? What are they viewing? Why are they saying that? Listeners, if you know the difference between partly cloudy and partly sunny, let me know. My assumption is that it's which one is more. Like if it's going to be 60-40, right? If it's 60 clouds, it's partly cloudy. If it's 60 sun, it's partly sunny,
What if
right?
it's the opposite? What if it's the 40, the one that's creeping in? Like it
Or
would
that
be
could be
sunny,
too, right,
except it's
right.
partly
Except that there's
cloud.
some clouds coming in, right? Yeah. It
Yeah.
normally would be completely overcast, but there's some sun peeking through, so it's partly sunny. Yeah, that
I
could
mean, it
be it as
doesn't
well.
matter. We have the ability, not that, a massive volume is listening to us, although, some, we have a
People,
platform
yeah,
here,
we have
but
people listening.
we could talk this out to the point where it gets really confusing for people on
No,
purpose.
now, what I want to know is why isn't there a measurement for partly rainy? That
I think
way,
because it's
that
either raining or it's not.
but that's my point. But like that changes during the day. I mean, some days it's raining all fucking day. Like that should be, it's gonna rain all day. And then some days it's like sprinkle here, drizzle there. It's gonna rain. I think basically it's because weather people don't fucking know. They can't predict whether or not it's going to be rainy all day, so they can't say it's going to be rainy all day. So if it's going to rain at all, it's going to be rainy. Prepare for rain. If there's a high enough percentage of the water is going to fall from the sky, then it's a rainy day. Now, did you get any weather forecast that it was going to be snowy?
No, no, not that I wouldn't say that I pay a lot of attention to weather forecasts. So there's that.
You don't prepare your day by grabbing your phone and swiping over to the weather and just seeing how you should dress that day.
Almost never. Almost never.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just I just kind of go with it. It certainly will occasionally put me into situations that have me inappropriately dressed. I can't say that I care a whole lot. I just go with it. So, yeah.
yeah. I on the other hand, I look on certain days. So, like on Wednesdays, if I know
Mhm.
that I'm going to be going to the wine meetup with the Digital Nomad group here, which I do pretty much every Wednesday, which I did last night. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, I check to see because I'm gonna be doing a lot of walking, so I need to know whether or not I need to bring an umbrella, if I need to bring a jacket, if I need to bring two jackets, if I need to layer up, if I can get away with just a shirt. Um, uh, that's about it. Or I check on Sundays when we do the mahjong to see if there's anything in the weather pattern that might prevent people from coming out. Right, I know if it's going to be kind
Yeah.
of under the weather, people really don't want to travel in that kind of weather, so they may not be coming to mahjong on Sunday, and I like to know that. Um, so just gotta be prepared for that, those kind of things. Yeah, yeah. But I don't really check it all that much either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know that, from a travel perspective, if I'm going someplace warm, I assume it's going to be warm. I pack clothes that are going to be suitable to that. Um, that's about it. Like I don't really, get
yeah.
into it too much.
I'll tell you this: when you do long term travel, it's tough to predict. Like, so we came out with a lot of heavier clothes because again, we try to anticipate for everything, but then those clothes are heavier and it's hard to travel with heavy clothes. So we sent a whole bunch back with anticipation of returning and be able to pick up those clothes, and we haven't returned yet. So now we're here without said warm clothes, and the temperature starting to drop. I have a few pieces. So like we're gonna buy a couple pieces here and there, and then I do have an update on our travel situations, but let's backtrack a little bit before we get into
Yeah.
that. Last week I mentioned that Banal Madana was burning. That is because 2 days prior to our recording, there was a fire at a Oriental restaurant right on the corner, right across the street from our apartment complex, right behind it. And I was looking out the window as I normally do because my laptop is right on the table and I can look out the window and see the hotel across the street
Yeah.
um, or across the way. And I noticed what I thought was fog rolling by the window. The problem was it was rolling by the window in the wrong direction. And and then the wife looked and said, "Oh, that's not fog, that's smoke." I said, "Yeah, that looks like smoke." And so I stepped out onto the balcony, and then the darker smoke, the fire smoke comes through. That you tell is being addressed or whatever. That kind of started rolling through. So we grabbed all of our shit and got out of the apartment. Um, Walked and saw that it was not. Um, Saw that it was not uh, our apartment complex that was on fire. So then we came back and brought everything in. Now that did bring the question up: if you were to have an unexpected fire, uh, do you know where all your important things that you need to grab are, so that you can get out of the house quickly?
um, probably.
You
I
might want
know
to.
that.
So
I mean,
you
here's the
might want to
thing:
do that.
that like the important stuff, like passports and things of that nature, are in a fireproof box.
Oh, good.
So my hope is that those things survive. Um, I can't say like for example, my autographed Mike Donnelly poster. I don't know where that is. Um, I don't know who that
Right.
is. I don't know
Right.
how I got it autographed. um, I can't say like within the world of like my magic stuff, the greatest value is within probably the books I have, and you don't bother trying to save stuff like that in a
No,
fire. You're going to end up
you don't
on
save anything you can repurchase. Right.
and I
So
mean
like
even
the things
rare
you
stuff.
are like
You
like
know what I
photo
mean?
albums, unless they've been digitized, you know, like we grabbed like our passport, the laptops, make sure we have the cell phones, the dog, you
Yeah,
know. I make sure to I made sure to grab chargers for the phones because you don't want to be out and then your phones die. So I make sure to grab chargers, and then my customized bottle because I don't want to be here without that. And then we booked it out, put everything in the backpack, and get a change of clothes. I put a quick change of clothes in my backpack. My backpack became my go bag. Right, grabbed up all
right.
the things and then stepped out. And then we were safe, made our way back. I did not grab the mahjong set, although I did think about it, but it's heavy. I was tempted to grab the mahjong set, but I did not because I figured again, you don't grab anything that you can repurchase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'd be fine if that happened. It's weird because when you mentioned that, it kind of the other week when we never got to it, it kind of sparked this
Spark.
yeah, this like realization that shit lights on fire sometimes. Like where I am in and around Elkton, so not exclusively Elkton. Um over the past, I want to say I don't know exactly how long, but definitely less than a year, several establishments, several buildings have caught on fire. Many of them have been either restaurants or former restaurants. So there was like the first one, at least my recollection of the first one that I observed in that recent stretch was a building that used to be most recently this Irish pub that had gone out of business several times and tried to restart over the past 8 years.
Right.
And before that, it was this old historic like hotel and restaurant that apparently actually George Washington stayed at way back in the day.
Ooh,
Um, and
fancy.
the initial thought when that play by some people when that place specifically caught on fire was that it might have been some sort of an insurance thing. I don't really care to have investigated or explored that. Um, I want to say that since then, there have been at least two or three other restaurants throughout the county that have caught on fire. And I'm assuming that that type of thing happens more frequently because they're restaurants, they have kitchens, there's,
Right.
probably gas and stoves and things of that nature that if something does not I guess there's more propensity for something to potentially go wrong.
Right. Right.
Like I have a stove in my house and it's electric, so of course I'm not dealing with gas. But
Right.
imagine having multiple
Multiple fires
multiple
and
stoves, fryers, things like this. it's a higher probability that something could go wrong with one of them at some point in time, and in a way that you don't necessarily notice it. Um, there was also uh, a place that is like a disaster. The irony of this, a disaster restoration company. So the
Wow.
company that you would call if your place were on fire or flooded or whatever, a tree fell through the roof, you'd call this company. Several months ago, their building caught on fire.
I
So,
wonder who they call.
that they yeah,
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah. And
Um,
apparently, as I was talking to folks here in Spain about it, some of the people who've been here for a while, they said, yeah, it seems like every year one or two. I'm going to mess up this word. I think it's changalitas. The restaurants that I know that's not the right word. Spanish, don't come after me. The restaurants that are by the beach, that are on the playa, um, every year a few of them catch fire,
yeah,
and it's just known that there's probably insurance involved. And during every year during the slow season, they never catch fire during the high season.
yeah. There you
Always
go.
during the slow season.
Imagine that.
Um, but what sucks, like I hope that that wasn't the case for this place, because what sucks is it caught the two businesses next door, like one on one side and one on the other.
Right.
They
Yeah, that
both got
happened
fire damage.
with with the disaster restoration place, because there was like a paint shop next to it,
Ooh,
something else on the
oh,
other side, and yes, exactly what you're thinking. It got a little extra when the paint shop took it. And I
when
don't
it,
know, it might have
yeah,
even started there. I don't really know. It's not my
right,
thing to investigate these things.
right. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
So yeah, it really sucked. And you, I don't know, listeners, if you remember, and I may have mentioned this last episode. I don't know how much I got into detail because we're still chipping on the rat. Um, the one of the places that burned was the steakhouse, where we loved and we got steak. And like the first time, the first day I did mention it. Yeah, the first day we got back, we got a steak from this place and we loved it. So now it's sad that
Yeah.
that place is gone. And I let my landlord know, and I hit them up and asked them if there's anything we need to grab out of the apartment that they want us to grab. And there's not. They said, no, it's cool. Don't have to worry about anything, which makes sense. I mean, they wouldn't leave anything important here that I have access to. Anything too important is going to be behind a locked cabinet, so that's fine. Um, but yeah, it was a trip, you know. And the freaky thing about that is, listeners, you might remember that when we were in Bucharest, an apartment that we were looking at caught fire.
That's right.
Right, and it wasn't the exact apartment, but near on the same building and same close to it. And yeah, I mentioned to my friend in Romania, and she was like, "Okay, you need to never say the phrase "I'm on fire." Yeah, you're not doing it right. We're on fire. No, no, don't say that out loud because the universe hears you and then lights something near you on fire. Um, and so listeners beware. Yeah, and I keep going. Okay, so if we're gonna spend some extended period of time and in anywhere, I have to make sure that nothing around it is too flammable. But live and learn. Definitely an exciting day, and experience. That getting dealing with the fire and making sure we had everything and getting out. And now I have a great story to tell.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, things are things do catch on fire. That is an accurate statement. Yeah. So
Well,
what's been happening in the world of hypnosis? You got any shows coming up? Anything exciting going down your pikeway? You getting ready for any holiday show specials?
well, I did a holiday show that last week, and that was an interesting time because it's me doing hypnosis for people that are in a room full of people who know each other, and one of the key elements to success in being hypnotized or whatever is relaxation. And so when you're in a room full of people where there might not be the same level of propensity, it's a tougher journey. The show went
Right.
well, everybody loved it, but
Yeah,
I
if I'm
utilized
going to
it
see these people the next day, I may not be so willing to get loose and loosey goosey on
exactly.
stage, right? If I'm going to see this guy tomorrow at the water cooler, I don't want to be the conversation. I mean, I'm not speaking about me specifically. Big Sexy would love to be a part of the conversation. I'd be happy to get loosey goosey around my coworkers, but I understand the general public may not feel the same way.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, it definitely was a tougher show, but it went well. Everybody seemed to love it. I used it as an opportunity to say, hey, that was certainly not my best work. So if you want to see that, come to the fundraiser show. The next show that we have publicly, which is a Between Two Minds show, where I'll be doing hypnosis at least, is in January. So it's officially 2024 for that show.
Nice.
It's officially part of that effort for us to raise 100 grand collectively for nonprofits and school groups and things like that. So we'll have two of those shows in January. I think I mentioned us performing at Georgia Tech on January 20th, either on the last episode or a couple episodes ago. So if you
Right.
know anybody in the Atlanta, Georgia area, or if you're somehow going to be in Atlanta, those tickets are probably on sale by the time that this episode drops.
Oh, nice.
They're not
And
they're
they can
not
get
on sale.
that. Where can they go to get those?
Everything, just go to between the number two minds.com. So once that stuff becomes available, that website gets updated. Um, you'll even see, so like
And
with
just for
CPA,
our listeners who take everything literal, the website is between two minds, but the two is the number two, not TO or
yeah,
TWO or TOO. It's between two minds. I don't want you typing in between the number two minds.com because that's not going to take you to the correct website.
correct. So go there. You will see. So as we get confirmation that we're doing shows, I feed them to the web guy. He updates the list. They might not all have ticket links when they go on there, but we put them on there so that if you're looking, you know that something's coming. Um, so yeah, we've got two of those fundraiser shows that are going to be in January. We've got at least one in February. Um, and then let's see, I've got another
Some other
fundraiser
stuff.
show.
Right.
I've got a fundraiser show, and I think I can say this, and I'm pretty confident that the tickets for this will be on sale before this episode drops as well. Um, I did mention this on here. Leap Day Williams Leap Day Extravaganza.
Uh, I think you've talked about it. I know we've
I,
kind of
I,
mentioned it,
I may or may not have mentioned
and
it.
you and I have talked about it,
I
but I
know
don't.
what I did. I teased people to watch 30 Rock season 6, episode 9.
You gave them homework.
Correct. So we can circle back to that because if you did your homework, if you watched that episode, you were introduced to or reintroduced, if you had seen it before, to Leap Day William. Um, I'm pretty sure that the folks at 30 Rock made up Leap Day William. I could be wrong. I've done no research whatsoever on this. Let's be real. Um, but Leap Day is a magical fake day that springs up every 4 years. And I thought probably about 8 years ago, maybe more, maybe less, somewhere in that range, somebody, me, should embody that character of Leap Day William and host a variety show.
Absolutely. Oh,
So,
nice.
on Leap Day in 2024, Leap Day William will emerge. And the funny thing, this is the best part of it all. Anybody who has seen me perform on stage in the past several years has seen me wearing that bright blue blazer, most likely.
Yeah, or if you've seen pictures of or anything like
Or you've
that,
seen the
that
pictures,
bright
or
blue
right.
blazer is your
Any of
outfit.
my promo shots or anything like that in that bright blue blazer, that's a bit of a tongue twister now that I think about it and
Yeah, the
say it
bright blue blazer.
um, that was originally purchased in me putting together the original Leap Day William costume. So there's a hat, there's a tie, all that stuff, bow tie and everything. So um, by the time this episode airs, there'll be fantastic poster art from our friend Brogan, and um, probably my favorite poster that Brogan's done so far. Not even close. Like, it's brilliant. It's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Um, but yeah, it's going to be a variety of show, and it's going to be a fundraiser for the local school system. Um, the local politicians here are playing games, as many do. When you, at least in the states, there's a required. Most states or most areas have like a required funding amount for public schools. And then every so often, like, you probably never experienced this in Nevada, because Nevada was founded on the casinos, or they were there from early on before you were
Right,
there. But here in Maryland, growing up, casinos were never, that we
a
didn't have
thing.
them here.
Right.
So the
Did you
big
know?
push.
Did you know about them?
Oh, I knew that they existed. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
'Cause, oh,
but
Atlantic City's over there.
yeah, Atlantic City's not far. The big push from those who wanted to make them happen was, hey, this money's going to go to the schools, right? So what happens? It's funny math. It's fuzzy math, right? Like, let's say that the amount of money, I'm making these numbers up. These
Maths are
numbers are
stupid.
not at all reflective of the actual numbers. But let's say that this school or this series of schools or whatever, the required funding level is $10 million, right?
Okay. 10 million.
And
Got it.
previously that money had come from tax money. And the government's funding that $10 million, and then the school does what it needs to do to run the school. We march in here and we have this big campaign. We need casinos. The casino money is going to be earmarked for the schools, yada, yada, yada. Okay, great.
Yada yada yada.
So everybody votes for it. Everybody says, yes, we now have casinos. The casinos start making money. And in this year, that casino makes $8 million.
All right.
So you're probably sitting there. Some people who don't know how this works are sitting there thinking, great, the schools now have $18 million.
Right. 10
No,
million, and then plus the 8 million from the casino.
wrong. The schools get the $8 million from the casino, and then the government's like, oh, cool, we only need to chip in $2 from tax money. We
Right.
can go buy bullshit with it.
They
And
bring
that's
it up
what
to
ends
the 10, and then take the rest.
So we are, and this fundraiser, which of course, in the grand scheme of what it costs to run a public school system, is just going to be a drop in the bucket. This money is not going into the public school general fund. It
Good.
is going to fund an organization that basically is run by teachers and the the superintendent of schools and whatever. It is not officially part of the government. It's an outside entity, and when teachers need things for their classroom, they apply for a grant, and then this funds it. So
Oh,
money
nice.
that goes
That's
into this
much better.
organization is not offsetting the maintenance of effort, which is what they call the required spending on
Right.
schools for any particular year. So, it won't allow the government to be like, oh, okay, you've got that variety show that raised, I mean, we're not even going to raise more than 10 grand. Like, 10 grand would be a tremendous success if
Right.
we did.
Well, at least not in the beginning. Hopefully, that this becomes such
Right, right,
an
right.
annual thing, big thing that you guys end up raising millions, and we become these philanthropists, podcasters who are doing wonderful things
Well, I
for
mean, here's the thing.
school systems.
The venue that we're doing it in, I think seats 225. It's not one of the venues that I typically use for Elkton Magic. They're selling tickets for $20 a piece. So that's like $4,500 if it sells out. Now they're
Right,
going to do probably like a 50-50 raffle, a silent auction type of thing, so they'll raise some more money there, but
right.
again, the high watermark is most likely like 10 grand.
Right. Now,
So
the joy would be if you can find local businesses who are willing to match whatever you raise. If you can get
that'd be
a
fantastic.
company to match, like whatever you raise, we'll match it. That's how you start to double that. Then you get a bunch of other companies to say, yeah, whatever you raise, we'll match it. And you have like 7 or 8 companies matching whatever you raise. So if you still only do for 4,000, in ticket
Big
sales,
Sexy
whatever.
hired. Let's go.
I got you. I got you. You know,
Um, it's actually a great idea. And yeah, so I mean, I just,
yeah.
so I'll be performing there. It won't be a Between Two Minds show, but
Right.
we're gonna do some good for the community. We've got musicians lined up. We've got an improv troupe that's gonna do like 10 minutes. I'm working on finding juggler. I'm gonna do some of the mentalism routines. I'll probably get one more magician in and on stage at some point in
Nice.
time. Um, like I said, at least two music groups that are going to do about 10 minutes each. So
A nice
it's,
variety.
yeah, it's starting to take shape.
Cool.
Um, if you somehow hear this and are in the area and have some sort of, variety type of talent and you're like, damn, I want to get involved in that, just hit me up because I will squeeze you in. I like right now, my plan is to open, to come back from intermission and to close the show doing effects. So there's 3 slots that could easily be filled with somebody else. I am
Nice.
not, there's no pride in it for me. I'm not looking to showcase my talents there. So any space that,
Performers, if you got a monologue you want to perform, you want to get dramatic, or you got a comedic monologue, you got a one person act, you juggle, you're a contortionist, you dance. If any of the people that I've met and talked to do this kind of things, you want a stage to perform in, contact. You
yeah,
can hit us up at bigsexynomad at gmail.com. You can go to the betweentwominds.com website. I know there's a contact link on there. You can reach out and get some information, and then showcase, perform, and then come as a guest on this podcast and talk about your experience.
yeah, that'd be fantastic. We'd love to have you. Um,
Yeah. Now,
and obviously, the day.
it's leap
It's
year.
leap day.
It's leap day. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I have a question for you, and this question comes inspired
Hey,
by
buddy, nice podcast.
I was
Okay.
listening.
Yeah.
I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about how they get into their creative process. Right? They're talking about how they start drawing because both of them, Wayne and Brogan, are artists, as we all know, because Brogan is doing all a lovely art, whatever. Wayne is a wonderful artist, did our comic strip and everything. How they get into their creative process, and it made me wonder. We're both creatives. We both do things, artistic endeavors. I'm a performer. You're a performer. I do improv. You do magic. I was wondering, do you have a creative process to get into the magician mind state, or the mentalist mind state, or the hypnotist mind state?
Um, Not specifically, not yet. A lot of what'll happen is like a lot of my new material comes from seeing something or doing something that inspires something else, or just some random ass thought that pops into my head and then I run with it. So, like, I know a lot of people have dedicated time where they're like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to write or create or whatever.
Right.
And they kind of try to schedule it. That's generally not how it works for me. It's far, far, far more random than that. Now,
Same.
I,
I'm a
I,
firm believer in the randomness of life.
I'm putting a pin in time to that statement because as this progresses, as it becomes more and more, of a legitimate bookable thing, um, I mean, like with little things like being invited to speak at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, like things like that, that really start to fill in the legitimacy of what I'm doing here and the growth of what I'm doing here. I will probably have to, get to a time in which I'm chopping stuff up like that. I would love to have, and this is something, I'll put this out there because this is just me kind of spitballing ideas. I would
Yeah,
love to have or put together over time. I guess it would be, I guess the best label to put on this is, like a writing team, like a group of people that kind of get together, whether you're part of it or whatever, that are
yeah.
part of just hammering out ideas. People that, I know that you've seen the show, that, at least one or two versions of the show that I've
Hmm.
done. So you kind of have a feel for it, and uh, just people to be like, hey, what wouldn't it be funny if you did this, or wouldn't it be funny if you did that?
A
And then
brainstorming room, yeah.
that brainstorming group, that idea that starts as wouldn't it be funny if, may ping pong off of somebody else in the group. You're like, no, what about this? And then it just kind of, snowballs and evolves
Right.
into something. Um, because sometimes that's how my ideas kind of grow anyway. There's an idea, sometimes I run with it, sometimes it just ping pongs around in my head, and then all of a sudden it hits into the right thing or the right idea, or I see, feel, or hear something out in the world that's like, oh shit, now boom. Like when I was creating the Clue routine a year ago or so, I had long before then had this idea of, I want to bring the premise of Clue, what room, what person, what weapon, onto the stage as a mentalism show, as a
Right.
mentalism routine. And it just started with a desire to do that. And,
Did you
you
try
know,
with other board games? Try like Monopoly or Sorry
no,
or
the interest was to
Life,
do it with Clue. You know, I,
Candyland?
uh, maybe these are ideas that come up for something in the future, but um, at that point in time, it was 100%. I want to do Clue on stage,
Nice.
and it was kind of, that was as much as it was for a while, and then I was watching some effect that had nothing to do with that Clue routine, and just there was a method within it that I was like, oh shit, I could use that and tweak it in a certain way. And again, I'm being careful and tiptoeing with my words here
Of
to not,
course.
to not really give anything away, because it's not really important in the story anyway. But like, I could do that with this. And then that kind of started getting legs onto the routine. And it was just getting that wedge in of that one first piece of, oh, I can do this way. How do I fill in the rest? And the rest just kind of fell into place
Nice.
in the initial version of that routine. Now, over a 3-4 month span, that routine changed 4 or 5 times, different pieces.
You build and you grow and you see what works and what doesn't, and you make changes and alterations. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that.
And ultimately that first piece of the method that sparked the entire idea is not involved in it at all right now. If I were to go and say, hey, pack up your gear, this event wants you to do that, the current version of the Clue routine, it's unrecognizable almost from the first version,
Of
other
course.
than
Interesting.
the props, the weapon
And
props.
and it's called the Clue routine
Right. Yeah.
and the name. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
have a similar random creative process. I do a lot of parody songwriting. Like that tends to happen organically. I'll either hear a song and I'll think of other words to it, or I'll hear words and it'll remind me of a song. And it's funny because now I've gotten to the point where like anytime it happens, I don't get quite upset, but I go, oh fuck, now I gotta write that entire song. right? Like I know that's coming because it'll stick in my brain and it'll earworm until I get it written and write it out.
Yeah.
And it'll sit there in my car and I'll keep playing with it. But then I don't feel good until I have a fully formulated idea. Like I have quite a few parody songs that right now are just the title and the song it wants a parody, but I don't know where to take it yet. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I'll sit down with like the lyrics of the song, and I'll see how they kind of flow, and then if it formulates what I think about, I'll put it in there. Like and my poetry is different. Like my poetry can be sparked by an idea, a thought, an inspiration. I often reach out
Well, and
to
you got a lot of that shit sitting around from high school too.
tons of high school poetry sitting around. Every month, I think once a month, I send in a new high school poem to ICS just because they say they love it. I don't want to flood you. I'll send you a book. I have enough high school poetry to fill a full book. I should have I eventually when I want to get famous enough that I know that a book of my high school poetry will sell because my name's attached to it. Right now it would people are, well, this is terrible. What am I reading right now? But
Yeah.
oh, this is the view of Big Sexy when he was in high school. This is pre Big Sexy. What was he talking about? Oh, he's pathetic. Oh,
Aren't we all?
yes. Oh, I mean, high school is the age when you think you're the shit and you're just not. You're just not, which is fine. It's fine to not be the shit. But I often say that I wrote a bunch of poems, the majority of with the intent to get women or to get girls in
Of
my
course,
life,
you
and
do.
of the number of females that I had attracted due to my poetry is still sitting at a beautiful 0. Not one girl that I ever been with. They are impressed post getting with me that I write poetry, but never one who heard my poem like, oh, I want to be with
Oh,
this
I
girl.
gotta get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not one, not one. And I wrote some very deep and introspective poem. People liked it, but never,
I
no
need to feel more
no
of
panties
those
droppers.
words
Yeah,
sliding deep into my ear. Wait, what?
I need him speaking into my mentality. It was one of my favorite
Yes.
poems. Yeah, so that's where I usually get my creative process from. It's very random, like just living out in the world, thinking about it. Sometimes I'll have a desire, like, oh man, I need to create. Like as a creative, I get in these slumps where I'm not doing anything, not performing. Like that's been the hardest thing about being here is not performing. So I'm very thankful for this podcast, right? And the other podcast I'm in, Rainbow Dreamcatcher, because this isn't a style of performance, right? This is an opportunity to reach an audience,
Yeah.
which as an entertainer I need. I was thrilled yesterday. Yesterday? What's today? Today's Thursday. Tuesday, I went to a place and did karaoke. First time doing karaoke in Spain, and it was thrilling, exciting. A very small bar. Shout out to my friend Mike, who had his birthday party was on Tuesday. So he had this little bar called Sangsters. Shout out to Sangsters, and they did karaoke for his birthday, and then they normally do karaoke on Friday night. So that's where I'll be tomorrow night as of this recording. And in 2 days as of this episode dropping. Because I think Christmas time's around then sometimes. But it was great, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy. If you know me, you know how much I love karaoke. And if you don't know how
Of
much I
course.
love karaoke, imagine the person you think loves karaoke a lot. I'm probably more than that. Yeah.
Right.
If I could, I would go every single day. But I don't because you know. I'm on a budget and I want to keep my marriage. So I don't do karaoke every single night, but I absolutely 100% would. Yeah. So it felt good to get back out there and do that. Also, speaking of getting out there, I mentioned I went to Wine Wednesday yesterday
Yes.
at a place, it was a Terrazza Cathedral. And I tell you, it was really weird. So it's a rooftop bar, restaurant, but the elevator for it is inside this video game museum,
Oh. Ooh.
which the two were not congruous. Like they don't match. Like there's nothing about the Terrazza Cathedral that says anything about video games, and there's nothing in the video game store that would say, "Hey, there's a really cool restaurant on our roof."
Right.
Right. So I ended up walking back and forth and I'm like, "Where is this elevator? Where's the?" And there's no signage. I swear, rooftop bars hate signage. They don't do signs here like, "Hey, the restaurant is here." It's kind of like you got to know it. But man, I went there. It was great. They actually had food that I could eat that wasn't too fancy, wasn't too high priced, and it was absolutely delicious. The ambiance was really cool. You go out on the terrace, and there's a big cathedral in Malaga Central, right there in the middle of it. And you go around the terrazza, you can see like one of the steeples of the
Yeah.
cathedral. It's quite beautiful. If you're on my Instagram, you can see I posted some pictures of it. If you go to @bigsexynomad, check that. And if you're not already, follow me on Instagram, and I'll follow back. And
Yeah.
posted some really cool pictures of it. It was great. Spent some time, met some new folks that hopefully we'll get to interview on the podcast. Actually, some other folks who said they're going to interview that I'm finally going to get a chance to interview and meet. I was actually talking to a guy named Bart. Shout out to Bart, who does graphic design, and was talking to him about my logo, our logo, and the logo, and realized that we have artwork, we have pictures, but we don't have a logo. So I'm going to sit down with him tomorrow and talk about creating a logo, like what that looks like and stuff like that, and starting this kind of push towards that endeavor to grow, to big.
Yeah.
I want to get big, and I want 2024 to continue to be a year of growth. Like I was inspired by the Spotify Wrapped. Like, okay, I see these numbers. These are good. These are good. I think we can do bigger. I think we can get better. I think we can, grow. And so I'm thinking of, ways to do that and building that type of infrastructure and growing our brand, as it were, and getting us out there so people say, "Oh yeah, big sexy digital nomad." Doing that for this, and then of course for Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the love podcast that I do with my beautiful wife Nilla. And if you're not listening to that, you should swing over, take a
You
listen
should.
after this is over, and enjoy. There is a much different type of conversation. I'm still me, just talking whatever, but my wife is so intelligent and really adept in her field. And so we get to talk about relationships and love and human connection and stuff like that. So definitely get a chance, swing over and talk about that. So like for the first few episodes, we said she was there to provide the information, and I was there to provide brevity, and I kept saying brevity, and then a listener let us know that what we're saying was I provide brief, as opposed to levity, which is I provide lighthearted and humor.
Yeah.
And we have been
Big
saying
difference.
it wrong because we really enjoyed rolling the R in brevity, that we weren't paying attention to the word that we were saying. So we got that fixed. And so swing over and take a listen to that. Now, before we go, I do have a question for you. Like, I love to say the
Yeah.
question for the last, and we can dive in deeper if you want to. Did you watch the reality show Squid Game? Squid
I
Game
have
The
not.
Challenge.
None of it.
I was skeptical, but curious, and we watched it, and holy shit! Like, did you see the original movie?
Nope. None of it.
Oh wow. Okay,
I
so
watched
you
nothing
can
related to it at all.
you can enjoy the reality show without having watched the movie, but it's so much better if you know the movie. And I thought about it because again, our friends over
Hey,
it
buddy, nice podcast.
had mentioned it. We were talking about it, and they were watching, and I was also watching. I'm hoping to get on their podcast soon so we can actually chop up. Because I want to dive in and what they thought about it. Because the finale, we watched the finale this morning as it was recording it. So good. It's such a good show. It's fun. It's funny in all the places that it kind of shouldn't be, and then some places it absolutely should be. It's watch a trailer. Watch a trailer, and if you get some time, like it's on Netflix, it's episodic. Catch a couple episodes and enjoy. Trust me, listeners. It's
Well, I mean, it
really,
sounds like I need to watch that movie first, but
yes.
or
I
should.
recommend watching the movie. Yes, yeah, the movie is really was incredible. It's worth all the accolades that it received. And it's brutal. The movie's brutal. I was curious of how they were going to do the brutality in the challenge game. They found a very interesting way to handle that, and I'll leave it at that. I won't spoil it for you, because the first time it happens is funny as hell. So we enjoyed that very much. But yeah, awesome. Do you have anything else you need to bring up before we close out today?
Not this week. We kind of went through a lot of it.
We did.
Sounds
Well,
good to me.
listeners, I encourage you to follow us on all the social medias and tell your friends about us. It's the holiday season. Swing over to our merch store at whereisbigsexy.com. That's where, like, you're putting on clothes. Give somebody you love a wonderful shirt. Oh, we do need to reach
That's
out
right.
to Brogan. We need a shirt that says "I'm a big sexy world traveler," and some kind of design. So we'd love to get something like that. So, and I'll be sure to message her because she won't hear this episode. They're so far behind in listening they won't get it. But get somebody you love some merch
For next year.
Yeah, for next year, and then be sure to subscribe. Swing over to our YouTube channel. If you're hearing this, just do us a favor. If you're listening, swing over to our YouTube channel and just give it a subscribe and a like on the videos. Even if you don't get your podcast that way, that the subscriptions help boost our algorithm and gets us in front of more ears and eyes and stuff like that. And then, of course, if you really want to support the podcast, you can go over to bullwiththebutthole.com and become a member of the Patreon. You can sign up for free, or if you really want to give us support, you can sign up for a mere dollar a month, and that'll get you access to all our bonus content, our video content, and all the cool things that we do over there. That way, we're not just in your ear holes; we're in your eye butts too, your eye holes.
Yes.
Yeah. Put us there as well.
And then if you're on the YouTube, if you're on the Patreon, you get to see the new bull with the butthole symbol that I just came up with.
Yeah,
Little hand symbol.
The bull with the butthole.
That's right.
Bull with the butthole.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're dumb.
I'll see myself out.
and on that note, meanwhile, later, Gators. Yeah.
Well, we'll find the button.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.